Today's episode is for every trainer who's ever looked at a fully booked class the night before only to show up the next morning to half the room empty. If you've ever wondered why people keep bailing even when your classes are great, this one's for you. I'm sharing a powerful listener story that really stuck with me, and I'll walk you through the psychology behind client no-shows, how I personally changed my own bootcamp model to fix this, and what you can do even if you're working for a gym and you can't change the sign-up system. We'll also talk about building micro communities, what that is, creating emotional buy-in, and how you can make your classes feel unmissable without needing to post more on social media or overhaul your whole business. Let's dive in. All right, I pre-wrote that intro today because I want to get better at this podcast thing. So thank you for listening to that. Let's start off with a little bit about this listener story. So this is from Moira. Moira runs a boot camp. She has her own PT clients, but she runs a boot camp for an existing gym, like a fitness class. She can take 25 in the class. She's really proud because she's built that up to 25, even though there's been all these people, there's been quite a high turnover of the trainers who run this class before her. So she's built up interest. But she says, like, the night before, over the last few weeks, the night before, she'll look at who's booked in. Class is fully booked, 25 people. And then in the morning, there'll be like 10 to 15 people booked. So like overnight, 10 to 15 people have cancelled. And she's finally really frustrating. She says she's tried some things, like she's tried praising people who come to class. She's tried to congratulate them, even though she knows we're going into, we're ending summer here. We're in autumn. She's in Melbourne. She's reminded people who's booking in to commit to the booking, But then she realized that the people who don't show up are always the people who don't show up. So they're totally missing her stuff. So she's asking me, how can I make this class unmissable? So she specifically says, how can I encourage or motivate people to never want to cancel a class once they've booked in? And yeah, we've all been there. We've all been in that situation where we've maybe got, especially we've planned an amazing class. We're like, oh, this class is going to be amazing. It's going to be 20 people. I've got these fun games planned and things like that. And then like 4 or 5 people turn up and you can't do any of the stuff you've planned. And you have to just run like some boring cookie cutter workout. It is very frustrating. So let's talk about why this is happening, because it sounds like Moira is a great trainer. She's built this class up. People like what she's doing. So what's going on? Well, it's just got to do with psychology, unfortunately. Like she said, it's getting colder and darker. We have just come off daylight savings, so hopefully that helps her a little bit. But that's going to be temporary. The night before or the day before, everyone has best intentions. They're like, I'm going to book in for my class. It's going to be awesome. I'm the kind of person who gets up early, and no matter how dark it is, I never hit the snooze button and I'm going to go. But then, of course, like the morning, maybe later that night, they're still awake and it's 11 o'clock and they're like, oh, there's no way I'm going to get up now. So they cancel. Or they wake up in the morning and they're like, oh, actually, I'm not going to get there. I'll go to a later time. And they cancel. It's got nothing to do with Moira. It's just our brains will naturally rationalize the choice that we think we want to make. So, for the person at 5 o'clock in the morning who's canceling their 6 a.m. class, their brain is like, oh, I really need this sleep this morning. Like, yeah, you're right. You really need this sleep. Of course, later when it's 8 o'clock and they're up and about, they'll be like, oh, I really regret that. I actually had this exact situation with a friend of mine. I recently took up running and he got all jealous because I was running and I hadn't invited him. So last night I was like, all right, I'll be up. Let's run. We'll meet at the cafe at 6 a.m. And I get a message from him at 5:15 this morning. And he's like, oh, sorry, I need the extra hour's sleep. And he's someone who's highly motivated. Like he does all sorts of crazy amounts of exercise and events, super 50k runs, things like that. So it's even with him at that high motivation stage, but he's got a newborn. So of course at 5:15 in the morning, his brain is just thinking, I just need to stay in bed right now because I'm tired, rather than I'm going to get up and commit to this thing, which I said to commit to, which, like, it's fine. I'm not his trainer, so I don't have to stress about it. Yeah, so that's the first thing I want to go through. Like, even with the best of intentions, people will cancel, not because they don't love your class. In fact, later they will likely regret it. It's just the way our brains work. And it's why, personally, I never activate the snooze feature on my alarm, because either you're going to get up when it says to get up, or you've missed it. The next bit I want to talk about is my own story around when I noticed this happening in my classes. Now, I run things a bit differently. I was in control of the sign-up process. People sign up for 4-week fitness cohorts. So they sign up for 4 weeks. We train together. But I did notice a similar thing, especially with new members. And yeah, coming into winter, but it was happening all year round, especially with new members, that if they missed 2 or 3 sessions, the habit that they formed began being that they miss sessions rather than they come to sessions. It's a very fine line that people will miss or come to sessions. So there is one client in particular I'm thinking about, and she was missing sessions. I didn't say anything to her, and then it was like 2 weeks and she hadn't come to a session. Halfway through, she'd paid, so she was losing money. She'd paid up front, but she still wasn't coming to the sessions. And this is similar to what Moira is dealing with, because Moira said there is a late cancellation fee. So if people cancel her class last minute, they do get charged for it. So that doesn't seem to be enough of an incentive to get them out of bed. And the same thing was happening here. This person was missing classes, and then I realized that this was actually an issue not just with this one member. When I started looking at the stats, I noticed this trend that if people missed like a week of classes, they tended to fall off. And the big issue was that they didn't sign up again for the next round. They hadn't built up that routine. So there's always a lot of enthusiasm when people start a new exercise habit and they come and they get there. And what we need to do is we need to make sure that we capture that exercise habit and keep it going. So what I did in this case was, the next round I was like, okay, if anyone misses 2 sessions in a row, I'm calling them on the phone. Like, I'm not going to let it get to a point where I'm trying to reach out to them 2 weeks later and I'm just being ghosted by them. I'm going to get on a call really quickly with them. So one session, they get a text from me saying, hey, I missed you. Not sure, we missed you at class this morning. Hope everything's okay. There's no like, where are you? Why don't you do this? It's just, we missed you. And then if they want to respond to that, they can. If they don't respond to that, however, and they miss a second session, or even if they do respond to that first one and they miss a second session, I'm calling them. Leaving voicemail saying, hey, missed you again today. Just checking in, everything's okay. And not everyone will respond back to that. Some people, they've made a decision, it's not the right fit. But if it is the right fit and it's just a matter of that initial enthusiasm wearing off, knowing that someone is paying attention to them, that someone is noticing if they do sleep in, if they do hit that snooze alarm, can just be the little psychological trigger that when they go to snooze in the morning, they're like, oh, wait, Kyle's going to call me later if I don't show up today. All right, I'm going to get up. And when you call them on the phone as well, you can have a bit more of a conversation and be like, hey, like, what are you finding difficult about getting up in the morning? Oh, I'm really tired. Okay, when are you going to bed? Oh, I'm going to bed at midnight. It's like, well, you're going to bed at midnight? Yes, getting up at 5:30 is going to be hard. That seems obvious. But to someone who's not been in the habit of getting up early for exercise, that's not that obvious. So it's like, use that fatigue that you now have from doing this for a week and start going to bed a little bit earlier each night. Don't try and go to bed at 9 o'clock and lay in bed awake. Go to bed at 11 and then try and go to bed at 10:30 and so on. It's that personal follow-up is really what worked. Simply getting people to pay up front. While it's good, you get paid, which is excellent. because you want to get paid for your work, but also you want people to sign up and keep coming. And so getting on this at that early stage, let the habit become that they get up early for class no matter what, that they hit the snooze button as soon as it goes off in the morning. That habit will build very fast. So let's go back to Moira's situation. She's got a few restrictions because she works for a gym. So I think having people sign up and book for a certain period will bring the commitment in high. Like a lot of people will see that and be like, oh, I've paid for this. I'm going to commit to this. These are my training days. I'm going to do it. You'll get a large chunk of people to do it. And certainly as they recommit and re-sign up, those training days will become their training days. But it won't work for everyone. Some people will be more affected by the weather, how dark it is outside, how warm and cozy their bed is. So we need to help them build the habit of overcoming that so that they can get to the exercise class, which is ultimately what they want to do. So but remember, what I said was that even though people were signing up and paying up in advance, it was the personal outreach that got them there to class. So something I would recommend that she does is, especially if people are cancelling, they're disappearing, she can't see who's no showing, the night before, take a little screenshot on your phone or write down in a notebook who's booked in. Then the next day, pay attention to who disappeared. And if they miss 2 sessions like that, give them a buzz. Say, hey, it's Moira from your session. We missed you this morning. Or send them, if you don't feel confident calling people, send them a quick message. That's going to blow their mind, because especially if they've been missing sessions and no one's been following up with them, they're just like, well, no one cares. No one cares that I'm not coming to these classes. No one cares that I'm self-sabotaging myself and not coming to these classes. And sometimes just having one person saying, hey, I see you, I'm paying attention, I'm not going to chew you out over it or make you feel bad about it, but I am paying attention. That can be enough to, we're social beings as humans. A lot of the things we do day to day is because other people are watching us. How many projects or activities have you not started because you're afraid about what other people will think of you? So we don't need to add narrative to this person's mind. We just need to say, hey, I see you. And their brain will do the rest of it. Their brain will go, oh, my trainer noticed I'm not coming to classes. All right, I'm gonna get back into it. We don't need to put the hard word on them or put any extra pressure on them. Just saying, hey, I see you. Hey, I see you, and I'd like to see you more. That's all we need to say. It doesn't need to be any more complicated than that. So that's one option, and I think that will fix the majority of people. But she specifically said, how do I make my classes unmissable? I don't think there's anything wrong with her classes. I don't think people would be booking in the first place to the classes if there was anything wrong with her classes. So I think this is more about what she's doing outside of the classes. So following up is one thing. You can even say, like, if you don't hear back from them, say you send them a message after the second missed session, and then they miss a third session, and just be like, hey, just missed you again. Let me know if you're just taking a break from sessions at the moment so I don't bug you. And then that will at least solve this issue, because she's got an issue at the moment of the class books out and no one else can book in. So there might be other people who would be willing and committed to come to those classes who can't come because they don't realize that everyone's bailing on the class at the last minute. So that will at least get people who are constantly cancelling, who aren't going to reinvest their energy into coming again. That will probably at least get those people to self-opt out and be like, okay, you know what? I haven't been making these classes. I've now told Moira that, yeah, I'm actually going to have a break from these early classes. Now someone else can move in and take that spot. And then the other thing I would check in is, will your gym let you reach out to people in a personal way like this? They should. You're doing the work for them. You're helping build community inside their business, so they should. But check if you need to. And the other thing I would then consider doing is starting like maybe a group chat or just like a mini email newsletter that you send out to the people who come to your class each week. Maybe with a bit of a wrap up of what you guys did this week, maybe with like a photo or two. You might find posting to social media is a better option for this. You might start posting photos of your classes, things like that. Get one of the other trainers who works there to just like pop in and take a couple of snaps or a couple of videos. Start sharing what's going on in your classes, and start building that. I mentioned at the start, like a micro community. Like, how can you make this community a bit of a club? If you go back and check out my how to structure a 6-week bootcamp, have a look at that as well for some ideas of how could you theme a month of workouts so it's actually a series of workouts, so people aren't going to want to miss it then, because on this day we're doing this thing, and on this day we're doing this thing, and on this day we're doing this thing. And so rather than just random workouts for a week, there's actually a flow, and people, if you're going to love this one, you're going to want to come to this next one. Or if you're going to this day we're doing mostly upper body, so you're going to want to make sure you come on Friday to get your lower body, so your arms just aren't the only sore thing. Like, you can start thinking about, that's more class structure stuff you can start thinking about. If you start a group chat, name your group. So actually I asked ChatGPT for this, and it said you could name it something like the 6 a.m. crew or the dawn patrol. Like, what do you want to call this group that gets up early and gets going? Start with the people who are coming, and then initiate people into that group as you go. And then, of course, one thing she said she did try was praise. So when these people do start coming back in, make sure you just be like, hey, this person's back today, and get them to exercise with a fun group of people that day as well. Like, get them to exercise with your best other clients. Not the most hardcore other clients who are going to scare them away again, but just like your friendliest other people in the group. Run some sort of team drill again and get people going. So that's the way that I recommend. These are all the things that are inside of your control that you can do when your classes are already amazing, which we know because people are booking, but it's more about getting people to show up. To sum up, I'd say, let them know you're paying attention. If you can get some sort of group interaction happening outside of the group, do it. And then how can you make it kind of a cool club to be in, that you get up and you do this like all through the winter? And maybe that's because you're doing a series of workouts or something like that. So this is the exact reason that last year I created a new program called Group Flow. And it's all about how to keep people interested and engaged after the motivation fades. It's about how to set up and structure your offer. If you're a self-employed trainer or you've run your own boot camp or your own group fitness classes, how to set that up in a way that's going to entice people in and also keep them coming back session after session, group after group. So if you're interested in signing up for that, I'm going to be opening the doors to it very soon. So head to the link that's in the show notes. It'll either be my newsletter link if I haven't started launching it yet, or it'll be a direct link to the Group Flow program where you can read all about what's involved, what you get, and how you can use this to really create something very special that people want to keep signing up for, want to keep coming back to. So to wrap up, if this is you, if you're like Moira and you've got clients who say they're coming to class and they don't come to class, you're not alone, but you're also not powerless. Start small, start with small connections, connecting with clients, letting them know they feel seen, and then from there go and create something that's really powerful, that's really going to draw people in and that people want to be a part of. And that's all I've got for today. Until next week, I've been Kyle Wood, and this is The Warm Up.